Texas.
Sorry, I didn't. You said in your testimony, I think, that the request for the $369 million is deficit neutral. So, I assume you're going to make up the $369 million with doing what?
Congressman, what I meant by that is that as a result of the legislation, the transaction fees and revenues that the Commission brings in, that our budgets were going to be tied to those amounts.
Yep. But in reality, we're taking money out of the economy. Is that correct?
Yes, it's coming from the people who engage in securities transactions or registrants.
And I think that's kind of the Washington mentality up here is that, well, if it's money's coming from fees, somehow that doesn't count. But what we're all working on here is trying to make sure that we leave enough capital in the system here to create jobs. And so, while it may be deficit neutral, it's not economic neutral to the economy. Would you say that?
I would certainly agree that that money is coming from somewhere. That's correct. My personal view is that that's a good investment in contributing to sound markets and investor confidence, which I think aids and benefits everybody.
Ms. Rominger, is that right? Yeah.
Rominger.
Rominger, thank you. With people named like Neugebauer, I'm sure you've had to repeat that just a couple. You said your division was hoping to hire folks with special expertise, and I assume that those folks more likely could come from the private sector. Is that correct?
They could come from a variety of different places.
Yeah, and so with some of these specialists, one of the concerns I have I made in my opening testimony is that bringing some, making sure that there's a process in your organization for conflicts of interest. I think all of us have been extremely disturbed that someone that had an investment ties to Mr. Madoff was actually in working on the negotiations of settlements with some of the investors. And when we sent testimony, when we sent letters over there, the ethics approval process was somebody sent an email to somebody and says, hey, do you think there's a conflict of interest? A few minutes later, they get it back, no, it seems to be, everything seems to be fine. I mean, for an agency that holds high standards for the people that fall under your purview, it appears to me within the organization that same standard doesn't hold true for the people working inside the organization. And back to Mr. Kazami's statement, that making sure there's integrity in the marketplace, I think it brings, as some of my colleagues have said, it brings a little bit of question of the integrity within the organization. That are you policing yourselves? You want to police these organizations, but the question is are you policing yourself? What kinds of things as you hire these new people, how will you assure us that these people have been vetted properly and that conflicts of interest are addressed, and that we don't have these kinds of issues coming up in the future?
I share your expressed view that our standards need to be very, very high in this area, and I have not hired anyone yet, but certainly when I do so, I will make sure that we comply with every element of the enhanced ethics standards that are in place at the SEC.
So what is the process today? I mean, if you start hiring people, what are you going? I mean, how does that work in your organization? And I'll leave that open to any of you. Somebody want to address that?
I'd be happy to, having had a little bit more experience than Mr.
You've been here more than 14 days. Yeah.
Right. Under Chairman Shapiro's leadership, there has been an extensive review of the ethics and compliance program and process. A new chief compliance officer has been brought on board. A new ethics council has been brought on board. An electronic system to log and manage any possible financial disclosure conflicts has been implemented. We all have to go through extensive training now regarding the ethics and conflicts issues, and that is repeated annually. So there's much more robust process and policy in place today again, under Chairman Shapiro's leadership.
So when did that start?
Our new Ethics Council came on board just in the past few months. The Chief Compliance Officer came on board just a few months prior to that. So much of this has happened in the past year. The new electronic system to dock, log, and monitor financial disclosure conflicts has come online just in the past year plus. So it is all relatively new, but all very positive developments and a reflection of industry-leading practices for managing ethics conflicts.
Don't you find it a little odd that that's just happened in the last few months? I mean, an agency that holds to other people to such high standards that all of a sudden you decide, hey, maybe that works for us too?
We'll let the gentleman answer that and then conclude.
I think Chairman Shapiro, since she came on board, started a process of initiating a number of reforms, including taking a fresh look at the entire process, recruiting and identifying the right people to take on those leadership positions in the ethics function and the compliance function. So it is a process. It has taken, I think, good progress over the past 2 years and will need to continue in the near term to come.
Thank the gentleman.
Congressman, if I just might add, I mean, before these new measures were taken, you know, my personal involvement is I dealt with the ethics office on conflict matters. I found them to be careful and candid and, frankly, erring on the side of caution in the circumstances that I dealt with them. And the rules and obligations, both for individuals coming in as well as going out of the commission, I think are clear and well known. So I don't want to leave with the impression that the ethics world started only a few months ago. There were systems in place, and from my experience, they've worked effectively.
I think there's evidently with some cracks in the system. Thank you.
I thank the gentleman.